was before you know it, you'll be graduating. No, you've got 2 more years. So that's good.
So, are you a nurse?
I'm a dietitian.
Dietitian, okay.
And so I've been a dietitian for 25 years. So I'm a sports specialist, so for that reason I help athletes a lot. But at Summa, I also work in weight management, so I do diabetes or heart disease or just sort of a weight loss or whatever they need, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so just help people eat right to do well.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going into a nursing compact here next year.
You are.
Yes.
Wonderful. What does that entail? Does it put you on a program for college then?
We start working with Summa, and then we graduate with our SPA, and then we're just, I think we're top 5 in the class, so get seats at Akron, and
That is wonderful.
I'm really excited about it.
You should be. And I bet you are going to be competitive to try to be in the first top 5.
I'm going to try my hardest.
Good for you. Good for you. Akron has a great nursing program. I've taught there for 17 years. Yeah, I was full-time for all that period of time, and now I teach 1 class because I'm full-time at Summa. But I still teach, and I love it, and they have a wonderful nursing program. Great faculty.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, enjoy the program they got for you here, too. Oh, my gosh. So nice to meet you too, Mary. Thank you. Mary's going to do awesome.
What's that?
She's going to do awesome.
Oh, she's our live streamer?
She's our live streamer.
Outstanding. Thank you. She did a lot during the fall, I believe. I remember seeing fall and the winter, so we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
I reminded people, after maybe people come in once the kids start going through. So since we came around with your shoe. We'd like to welcome Michelle Boltz from Summa Health. She's here to do a talk to us on nutrition. We're going to have a 6 o'clock and a 7 o'clock presentation. With that, again, we'd like to thank Michelle for being here, as well as Summa Health Network. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. I'm really excited to be here and talk with you about sports nutrition, how to fuel properly, not just as an athlete, but also for life. I am a dietitian for about 25 years with a history in health and wellness, clinical nutrition, and sports nutrition. So I'm excited. I hope you'll learn a lot, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I want to just mention, I titled this Eat to Excel, not just to excel in sport, but also to excel in life. I have been at the University of Akron also teaching through the years, and when I worked with one of the throwers coaches, he actually said to me, I want you to help my athletes for right now, to win, of course, as an athlete, but I also want you to help them be well for life, so that when they're no longer an athlete, and they're out there in the real world, they know how to be well, prevent chronic disease. So I know that's a long time from now for the students, but it is something that we want to think about. Yeah, take off my mask since I'm the only one in here and up here. Okay, so when we talk about proper nutrition in athletes, we want to, of course, improve performance. That's, what you're doing. You're an athlete and you want to win. We know that when we have proper nutrition, it does delay fatigue. It improves recovery time and the ability to recover. It enhances the ability to train effectively. And as I said before, it's important for life and for health and wellness. So even when I have athletes come to me to say they need to gain weight, I don't want to have them eat whatever they want to gain weight, like milkshakes and fries and things that aren't healthy. We want to even gain weight healthfully. So we'll look at healthy fats and increased portions of those healthy carbs and healthy fats. So, we're looking at how to eat well for life. Our sources of energy, probably a lot of you know this, are carb, protein, and fat. When we say source of energy, we mean what gives us calories. So these are the big players, and I tried to include on all my slides practical ideas for you in terms of what to eat. And a lot of the things I include are portable. So carbohydrate might be that banana and that yogurt on the slide. Protein is going to be that tuna you see. The milk is protein and carb. The pasta down at the bottom is carb. Our nuts are healthy fats. Our vegetables have a little bit of carb in the ones you see up there. And that edamame, that's immature soybeans, and that's a great protein, and it's a great omega-3 fat, which is anti-inflammatory. So I also like to say food is medicine. Like, it has all these properties that help the body perform well, be well, and prevent disease. So we'll talk about each of these nutrients that provide calories, which is energy. We'll also talk about the timing of those around sport. So carbohydrate, I like to say, is to a human like gasoline is to a car. It is our preferred source of fuel. It is what we call the master fuel. Your brain wants it for energy, your muscles want it for energy, and all of the items that I included on this slide include healthy carb. And again, you can see a lot of them are portable. I've had athletes literally have their parents make sweet potatoes ahead of time and walk across campus with their sweet potatoes because it's a healthy carb and it actually is portable. So we've got a lot of fruit up there. Basically, carb is going to be anything that's not meat. Okay, so anything that's not flesh or chicken or turkey or fish and beef, that's not carb, but pretty much every other food group is going to have carb. And that also stresses the importance that carb is to a human when it's in 4 of the 5 food groups. The other energy providing nutrients are protein and fat. And so protein is an energy source, but we don't want to use it for energy. Like, we use carb for energy. Carb is to a human like gasoline is to a car. When you're in stop and go, high intensity sports, the faster you're moving, carb is the fuel you're using. Okay? So carb we want to use during sport. Protein is something that we don't usually use until we're playing a long time. So once we're playing a couple hours, now we're tapping into maybe some protein being used. Or if I'm under fueling, if I haven't eaten enough energy, if I didn't get enough calories, then I might be tapping into some protein for fuel. But we don't use protein for fuel. We are protein. Your muscles are protein. Lots of the items and things in your body are created from the building blocks of protein. But getting enough protein, and I put up there from food, one of the last things we'll talk about in this presentation is supplement use. But we always want food first for anybody, especially athletes. And so we try to get our protein from food. We don't want to use it as fuel, but we're going to use it to repair muscle, to rebuild muscle. When you're exercising, that is catabolic. That's breaking down tissue. After exercise, we're repairing and we're rebuilding, and we need protein in order to do that. So it's very important to repair muscle. It's very important for muscle protein synthesis. And the other thing that's important is we want to spread it out throughout the day. We know that when we spread it out throughout the day, it helps us to maintain muscle mass as well, especially as we get older. So I've included some very easy portable items of protein on these slides. So peanut butter is a nice plant-based protein, pretty portable. You can make a peanut butter sandwich. You can pretty much carry that anywhere. They can make the peanut butter little packs now that you can take that are individualized if you wanted to have one of those with an apple as you're walking. Down there I've got some egg, hard-boiled egg. That's something we can have a bunch of those on hand in the house and grab them and go. So those would be a nice portable protein source. Yogurt, Greek yogurt especially, is a real nice, easy, quick protein, as is cottage cheese. If you can tolerate dairy, then I would recommend cottage cheese and Greek yogurt quite a bit to my athletes. Again, pretty quick, pretty easy, and portable. There's some string cheese up there too. That's what this is, if it's hard to tell. And that string cheese is a really nice, easy, portable way to get some high-quality protein in. You have a glass of milk. You can also do soy milk if you're lactose intolerant. These packs of tuna I put up there. Of course, we don't sponsor any brands, but these are just practical brands that we recommend a lot of the time, and they're easy. These vacuum-packed tuna packs and vacuum-packed chicken packs are very easy to take along. They're very portable. They can sit in a locker. They don't need refrigeration, and it's a way to get some extra food throughout the day. Moving on to fat, yeah, fat is an energy source, just like carb is. We use carb and fat in tandem when we're moving. Right now, if you're sitting and watching this, you are mostly burning fat, probably at about 60% and 40% carb. If you get up out of your chair and you start moving around, those percentages are going to start to switch. And then the faster you move and the faster you run, now you're going to be turning into use more carb. But we use carb and fat, and it just depends on the intensity in which we're moving that we're using either of those sources. Again, we don't use protein for fuel unless we're underfueled or working out for very long periods of time. So fat is a good thing. I'll have people say, well, I should be on a no-fat plan. I shouldn't eat any fat, and that's not true. We need fat. We need fat for the fat-soluble vitamins. We need fat that comes from anti-inflammatory fat, like omega-3 fat. And actually, this edamame, this plant-based protein right here, is a high-quality plant-based protein that actually is an omega-3 anti-inflammatory fat as well. Other healthy fats I put up here are some olives. Those are pretty easy and portable. At some of the grocery stores, they even have them now in the little packs that you can peel back the top and eat your olives right out of the pack. It looks like like little canned peaches, but the little packs of peaches and little individual containers of fruit, they do that with olives now. Some nuts, that's a healthy fat. Basically, pistachios are wonderful, almonds are wonderful, walnuts are an omega-3 anti-inflammatory fat. The only nut that doesn't do a ton for you is probably the cashew. So again, all of these things I try to express to athletes are very accessible and they're very affordable. And that's what an athlete needs, because a lot of times I'll hear, I'm too busy to eat, I've got school and then I've got practice and I don't have time, but somehow there seems to be time to grab some other items when these can be packed in the locker, in a lunchbox, even in a cold packed lunchbox, if you needed that for the Greek yogurt or the cottage cheese, and they're pretty quick and easy to handle. Avocado, that's another wonderful healthy fat. And when I have athletes who need to gain weight, these are the kinds of things I go to. The olives, the avocados especially. I mean, a fifth of an avocado is a serving. And so it's easy to eat a whole avocado. It's not much bigger than a pear. Then you're going to get a couple 150-ish calories just from the avocado. And it's a healthy fat that helps your cholesterol levels. Because again, we always want to think about not just where you're at as a student athlete, but where you're going to be at, beyond your athletic years. Again, I've worked with a lot of collegiate athletes, and we do like to talk about being well post collegiate professional, athletic career as well. So we talked about these three big energy-providing nutrients, carb, protein, and fat, and we know we need to eat them to be well in life and what they do for the body. We just described that, but then we need to know about how should we time them around this activity we're doing. And so this is a good general rule of thumb. The farther you are out from go time to your sport is the more you can eat, and that just makes sense, right? If you try to eat too much right before you play, you are not going to play well, because what happens is your gut wants blood to digest the food, but your muscles want blood to move, and so we have a little bit of competition there, and you can end up cramping. So we have to be careful about the timing that we eat around sport, and we want to make sure that we're just making it the best that we can succeed while we're playing and feel our best too. So the farther out we are from go time, you can see that's about 3 to 4 hours before we can have a larger amount of food. So again, primarily carb, because carb is the master fuel. We can have some protein, because that's going to take longer to digest, as is fat, but because I'm so far out before I have to play, I can probably tolerate that. Some examples might be what I have up here. And again, these could be packed. So is it a turkey sub sandwich with baked chips and fruit? Or maybe it's a peanut butter sandwich if you didn't have a lunchbox to keep turkey cold in. Could be a grilled chicken wrap with pretzels, low-fat milk, pasta with some meatballs. It could be a vegetarian-type meatball if you don't eat meat, chicken stir-fry with rice quinoa. But I'm just trying to give a lot of examples here of what it looks like when I get the carb, which would be any of the bread or the pasta or the quinoa, along with the protein, and also the fruit would be carb. And how do we mix all that up so that we can have that a few hours before? I also put on all these slides that we must train our gut, because Just like you train your muscles, your gut has to be familiar with the food you're going to put in it before you practice and play. One person might be able to tolerate the turkey sub 3 hours before playtime, but another person really might not. Getting closer to playtime, when we're dealing with 1 to 2 hours before, one person might be able to tolerate a yogurt and another person might not. So just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody the way we fuel around our sport. I am a runner and I compete in the Aqua Marathon every year, and I know with my running partner there's things I can eat before I run and there's things that she can't eat that I can eat. And so, you just have to let your gut know what works, what doesn't work, and you can figure it out. But as we get closer to go time, we have really just carb that we're looking at here. So fruit juice is carb. The milk has some protein, but it's got a lot of carb in it as well, and so on down the line. Those waffles and pancakes, they can be plain. You can have packed pancakes in your locker that don't need syrup on them. They're just a great carb source. So you have to sometimes get creative as well. Okay. Now, as we get even closer to go time, when we have less than an hour before we have to start competing and practicing hard, we might want to not have solid food because that solid food might be jostling around in there and cause a little bit of cramping. So again, everybody's different. Maybe one person can tolerate a yogurt within an hour of go time or a banana within an hour of go time, probably not a protein or fat, but then another person can't tolerate anything solid and we have to stick with something that's liquid. So at that point, maybe it's going to be something along the lines of a sport drink. Sport drinks are engineered products that contain carb and they contain electrolytes, and they are manufactured in a way that they should really only be used during long distance activity or heavy competition where there's heavy sweating and high humidity and that kind of a thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this might be something that you feel like you need a little top off the carbohydrate stores in the body before you gotta have go time, and you can't eat food because it's too close to go time, so you have a little sport drink, whether it's a Gatorade, a Powerade, whatever it is, because that's going to give you a little bit of carb to top off your energy stores. It's also going to give you some electrolytes, and as you're sweating, the biggest electrolyte you lose is sodium, and those drinks have that, and they can put that back in the body. Again, must train the gut. Now, if we have a hard, long practice, when practices last longer than an hour, when tournament play or games last longer than an hour, that's when we really have to pay attention to getting in probably more than water. Now we have to think about energy, which are the calorie-containing nutrients coming in during play. So at that time, what we look at as a standard rule of thumb is about 30 to 60 grams of carb per hour. So if I know I'm going to be running for 2 hours, then I know that I want to aim for 30 to 60 grams of carb within each of those hours. So what I have to do really is within the first 15 minutes of playtime, start consuming something. And in my example of running, I would probably start consuming something like a sport drink because I'm running and that's jostling and I'm not going to be chewing food, right? So again, if the activity is going to be longer than an hour, then we would recommend some sort of fuel and electrolyte replacement, which would be carb and electrolyte during event. If it's less than an hour or not more than an hour, water is fine. And I put some other things besides sport drinks on there. Some people can tolerate dried fruit during their playtime or practice time, and some cannot. Okay. Orange slices are something else that are sometimes available on sidelines, at fueling stations, and those are nice and they're refreshing and they hydrate and it's carb. But if activity is going to continue on for more than that hour and then continue on, you want to think about getting some sodium in as well. So that's where, if you were going to focus on food for your carb, then you could do like a low sugar sport drink. But if you weren't going to rely on food for your carb, then you want to do the sport drink that took care of the carb and the electrolyte. So hydrate, just like those key energy providing nutrients are important for sport, hydration is also important for timing around sport. And so we'll look at hydration before, during, and after. And we'll talk about that in 1 minute. But one thing I like to talk about is, what is your hydration status? And the best way to know if you're hydrated really is to look at your urine color. So when you wake up in the morning and you go to the bathroom, what color is your urine? And we want it to be above that red line. So that real pale yellow, that's what we're looking for. Anytime that urine starts to get dark and concentrated, that is an indicator that you are dehydrated. If you are actually thirsty, you are dehydrated, probably by about 1 to 2%. So thirst is a late indicator of dehydration. It is telling you already are dehydrated by 1 to 2%, which could decrease performance. And so we always have to keep up on top of hydration. That is just as key as getting adequate carbohydrate in. And sometimes, if not more, especially in this humid weather like we have today, we want to make sure that we are hydrated. And then it comes down to, well, what do I drink? Water or sports drink? And then that would come down to, are you just practicing 45 minutes? Have water. Are you going to be practicing an hour and a half or 2 hours? Are you out in the sun? And do you have on your band uniform? And do you have on your instruments with it? And do you have on your padding and everything else? You're going to be sweating a lot. And the more you sweat, the more electrolyte you lose, the more chance you have for dehydration. And so we want to prevent that. And so we have to take all that into consideration. If you're in those hot, humid environments, we might want the sport drink. The longer you're exercising, we might want the sport drink. Athletes will say, well, how do I know? We want to drink maybe 4 to 7 ounces every 15 minutes, and for some people, and then they'll say, well, how do I know? 1 gulp is an ounce, generally speaking. So these are ways we can kind of mark water bottles. We can just try to be on top of it. Coaches, it's wonderful that the athletic program here has us talking. They obviously are invested in making sure the athletes are feeling their best and performing well and being prepared to perform well and safely. And so those water breaks, those drink breaks are necessary. So we just have this little rule of thumb. Again, every body is an individual. We take everybody individually, but as a general rule of thumb, we can drink 8 to 20 ounces an hour before. We can drink 4 to 8 ounces 10 to 20 minutes before, 4 to 6 ounces every 15, 20 minutes during. And then for every pound loss, let's say you weighed yourself prior to competition or practice, and then you weigh yourself after and you see a weight difference. So the rule of thumb is, and this is for the American College of Sports Medicine, they would say drink 3 cups for every pound of weight lost from activity to rehydrate. And the ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, actually also says every athlete should enter into the next practice and play in a rehydrated state. Okay, so we've discussed our big energy-providing nutrients, carb, protein, and fat. We understand what they do for the body. Carb, primary energy source. Fat is also an energy source. Protein, like you are protein, right? We've kind of timed them around sport. We know hydration is super important. We always got to be in a hydrated state. We talked about that timing around sport. And then just want to also mention some minerals, some of these micronutrients that athletes can be at risk for being deficient in. And standardly speaking, women are more at risk than men for being deficient in these, but it's iron and calcium. So iron, best sources are going to be red meat. So if you're somebody who likes red meat, you're getting a really bioavailable or absorbable form of iron in the body. If you eat other forms of meat, chicken, fish, poultry, you're getting iron there too, and again, absorbable iron. But if you're somebody who doesn't really eat meat, what are we going to do? Well, a lot of grain products are fortified with iron. So I have a total cereal up here. Those kinds of cereals, those cereal manufacturers, they put minerals, all kinds of minerals in cereals, and you might get the RDA for iron in a lot of different cereals, and that's good. But that's a plant-based protein. The iron in the oatmeal, that's a plant-based protein, and that's not as well absorbed as animal protein, but it is absorbed. And so what we ask you to do when you're eating your plant-based iron is to couple it up with a source of vitamin C. Vitamin C foods help keep the plant-based iron very absorbable. And so that's why I stuck, maybe on that cereal, you're gonna have an orange with the cereal. Or maybe you're gonna put strawberries on the cereal. Lots of different fruits have vitamin C in them. Or maybe you're gonna have even some of this orange juice, okay? So iron is a nutrient that just we see a little bit low in terms of what the female specifically needs to get in, but sometimes the men as well. Calcium, we see that a little bit low, again, more so in the females than the males. For adolescents, we need about 1,300 milligrams a day of calcium. The average female probably gets in 600 or 700 milligrams. We know that's our bone-building nutrient, that and vitamin D, right? So that's a concern. And then another thing I have up here is a 1,500 milligram amount on that calcium, and that would be for girls who have lost their menstrual cycle, which we don't want that to happen due to sport. That is not okay to happen due to sport. That is an indicator, as we'll talk about on some of these slides, of a low energy availability in the body. And when that happens, the position statements we have in sports medicine are that a female would now not just need 1,300 milligrams of calcium a day, that would need to be taken up to 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day to protect the bones. And we'll talk about that in a slide or two. So hopefully we avoid that situation. We fuel the body properly with carb, protein, and fat. We get enough energy. And if a girl isn't getting enough energy and has lost her menstrual cycle, we'll educate on how to get enough energy, and then that's corrected and we're okay. We're good to go. So I tried to put up here some of those calcium sources. We've got yogurt. Again, you can do an almond yogurt if you're lactose intolerant. There are yogurt substitutions. There's soy yogurt as well. You could do milk or a milk alternative like soy milk. That orange juice, which could give vitamin C to absorb the plant iron, also has calcium in it. So when you see the orange juice bottle with the blue, that one is telling you calcium has been fortified into that product. It wasn't there to begin with, but the manufacturer fortified that orange juice with calcium. So that would be a way for somebody to get extra calcium in, especially for somebody who doesn't particularly like dairy or can't tolerate dairy. Going to something like that, a cup of that is going to give them a few hundred milligrams of calcium, which is good. So we've got all kinds of options up here. These beans, that's what those are, some dried beans. And if you like chili, if you want beans on your burrito, beans would be also a nice source of iron. And that iron skillet, I put that up there on purpose because when we cook in an iron skillet, we actually increase the iron that is in the food that we cooked in the skillet. So it's very interesting. I put up here for practicality just some sources of iron-containing foods and the amount of iron they contain. Girls need about 18 milligrams a day and boys need about 8, but as this last slide said, if you are a vegetarian, it's fine. It's a healthy way to live, but you would need more iron than those numbers that I just said. So these are sources of iron, and then these are sources of calcium per serving. So just trying to give some practical tips to everybody. You can see what you like from these slides and try to build it into your meals if you don't already. Okay, so now we've talked about the big energy-providing nutrients. We've talked about water, and we've talked about the 2 micronutrients that athletes are most at risk for not getting enough of into their body. Now we're going to talk a little bit about this. We're kind of hitting all kinds of things tonight in terms of just eating to feel our best and fuel our best and be well. So this slide is looking at what we call relative energy deficiency in sport. It's called REDS. Years and years ago, we only talked about something called the female athlete triad. But now we've changed that terminology to be relative energy deficiency in sport. But we can see the triad is sitting right here. And what the triad meant is that a female's not getting enough energy, which means calories. And because of that, we've got some depressed hormones, including our bone-building hormones. And so for that reason, our bone health suffers. But also those bone-building hormones relate to menstruation, and so then menstruation stops or becomes irregular. Long periods of time in between periods, I shouldn't be. And so what happens when I don't have enough energy, the pinnacle, the circle in the middle means I don't have enough calories. Calories are energy. I don't have enough carb, protein, fat coming into the body. So I have an energy deficit. And when I have an energy deficit, my hormones are depressed. When my hormones are depressed, my bone-building hormones, I'm at risk for osteoporosis. When my hormones are depressed, those hormones that would regulate menstruation aren't doing what they should do, and so then I might not menstruate. So that was the triad. The problem with the triad is it only dealt Like, what if a guy's not getting enough calories? What if he's not getting enough carb, protein, and fat? He's going to have problems, and we're like totally ignoring him, right? And so now the relative energy deficiency in sport is now opened up to men, where the triad sits within reds. But all these other circles on the wheel relate to men and women. So if I don't have enough energy coming in my body, right, I already said you're going to start to mobilize protein for fuel, and we don't want to do that. You are protein. And so there's some other things that happen in the body. We can mess up different systems in the body, our endocrine system, our cardiovascular system. We can interrupt growth and development. We can have some just moodiness, like sadness. Matter of fact, if we don't get in enough fat, sometimes that can be related to just some aggressive behavior or changed mental thoughts. So all the gastrointestinal system, our immune system, all the body systems can be adversely affected when our energy intake is too low. And so what we like to do as clinicians is when we meet with students who aren't eating enough, we want to discern, is it a knowledge deficit? Is that why we're not eating enough? And then we can find out what foods they like and build a meal plan around it and get in enough calories and time it around their sports, and we're good to go. And we want to make sure that's the route we're on, and we need to see, is there a fear of eating too much? And so that would be a different route. We have to look at, are there any fears to get in enough calories, and then we'll look at it like that. In terms of the potential performance effects of relative energy deficiency in sports, so the last slide showed us the physiological effects of not eating enough of the proper foods. This shows us the performance effects. So of course, if I'm not getting in enough carb, master fuel, gasoline to, is to a car, like carb is to a human, like gasoline is to a car. If we're not getting in these nutrients, then we can start to have some consequences. We might have some decreased muscle strength. Well, if I'm not getting enough energy, I'm mobilizing protein for fuel, and my muscles are protein. So over time, I might, have some decreased muscle strength and decreased recovery and increased risk for injury. So those kinds of things are what this slide is talking about: decreased performance, increased energy, increased risk for injury, decreased strength, decreased carbohydrate stores in the body is what that circle is talking about. Mood changes, irritability, decreased ability to concentrate. When we don't have enough calories in the body, we can't really concentrate well. We might not be as coordinated, and in some of your sports, in all your sports really, your skill and your technique is very, very important. Impaired judgment and decreased training response. And so these are the performance consequences to not getting in enough calories. So I want to get enough of those macronutrients, that carb, protein, and fat. We got to start with breakfast. Break the fast. That's what breakfast means. And lots of times I'll hear, I just don't have time, or I don't like to eat in the morning. And so then it's portability. Maybe you're not going to eat right when you get up, but on your way to school, can you eat? Right when you're walking in the door to schools, or something portable you can have. Is there a bar? Is there a sweet potato? Like, is there a pancake that you just grabbed and go with? Is there an avocado? Like, what is it you can carry that would help you? Because getting that breakfast in is going to start building those energy stores for the day. While you were sleeping, you started to deplete your carbohydrate gas tank. So you've got to get breakfast in to start building up your carbohydrate gas tank. So breakfast really aids in maximizing your performance even at the end of the day. It aids in meeting your overall energy needs so we don't get into relative energy deficiency in sport. It provides you with nutrients. It's another meal of the day to get in all the macro and micronutrients that we need, or to contribute to those that we need for the day. It fuels training, it fuels competition, it helps prevent fatigue, and it improves concentration. So, what should we have? Anything. I don't care. Just eat breakfast. And it doesn't have to be a traditional breakfast of cereal or a bagel. It could be a piece of pizza that you have left over from the night before. If you wanted to sit down, you had time to have a piece of steak from the night before and a potato, fine. The point is, we want you to try to eat something. Even if it was like Carnation Instant Breakfast drink, that would be fine. Sometimes those drinks are portable, they're easy, they're quick. Sometimes I'll hear I don't like to eat because I get nauseous eating food in the morning, so something like that, maybe that would be better until they can have a mid-morning snack if possible. So I put down here just Some traditional breakfast ideas that, again, trying to concentrate on the portable effect and the quick and easy preparation. And then over here, some non-traditional breakfasts that it's fine. Like I said, I don't care what you eat anything. If you want hummus and veggies, fine. Have a 2/3 cup or a cup of hummus and some veggies, and you're getting a good plant-based protein, you're getting some healthy fat, you're getting lots of fiber from the veggies, and it will help you feel full. In addition, once you get to school, you will concentrate better, and it is proven that you do better in reading and math when you eat breakfast. So at school, can we have snacks in the lockers? Can you have opportunities to have snacks? You can store a lot of these portable items we've talked about and demonstrated on all of these slides in your locker, gym bag, for after school. Again, portability is going to be key. A little planning ahead, having those items in the house, having your parents make sure that those items are in the house. In terms of the cafeteria, if you know that you have to practice right after school, you don't really have much time, then I would have 2 lunches. And if you don't want to buy 2 lunches, pack 2 lunches. If you don't want to do that, buy a lunch and then pack a lunch too. Double up your portions at lunch when you know that you're not going to really have time to have that nice healthy snack after school before you have to practice. These are some healthy snacks that I would recommend packing and having available. I also put up there a lunchbox on purpose because you can just pack that thing of portable snacks to have after school before you have to practice or play. So I've listed some protein sources over here on that side, and I listed the carb sources over here. That protein can help sustain hunger. It can help you feel full, provide satiety is what I mean to say. And that carbohydrate is, again, to a human like gasoline is to a car. Again, all portable, and you might like some on there, you might not like others, but maybe there's a few you can tolerate. But no matter what, when you are going to compete, you have to have trained your gut. So when you are practicing with different snacks before, during, and after your practice time, and you start to recognize, yeah, I can tolerate a banana 2 hours before. Yeah, I can tolerate a peanut butter bagel 3 hours before. Yeah, I can tolerate a sport drink during. Once you identify during practice what you can tolerate before, during, and after with food and fluid, those are the items that you would definitely have with you during competition day. Because you don't want to try any new food or beverage on the day you compete. Because if it doesn't agree with you, it will undo your performance. And that wasn't the point of trying to eat. It wasn't to undo your performance, it was to improve your performance. And so always practice with new food and beverage before you would use that during playtime. So you find what works best for you. And remember, everybody is an individual. Just because it works for your friend doesn't mean it's going to work for you. This is a really great website. Probably you've been there from a health class, but it's myplate.gov. You can go onto this website, and it's got a lot of ways to navigate around there, but eventually you could go to like the teens section. There's a section for adults too, for parents, and all kinds of categories of people, toddlers, preschoolers, all kinds. But maybe you go into the teens section and you can set up your own personalized meal plan. You can enter in your age, your height, your weight, your activity level. It literally lets you know how many servings you need from each food group, and can let you know what that actually looks like. So it's a free website, it helps develop healthy eating habits. And you can see by looking at that plate, we want a lot of our plate to be fruits and vegetables, about half of that plate to be fruits and veggies. But it's a nice personalized website that you can get into. It has a lot of resources, so I just like to point that out. I also like to point this out. These are the athlete's plates. So the plate we have on the last slide is the general dietary guideline type message for everybody on what does a healthy plate look like. But this would be for specifically the athletes too. Now you can build your plate with the Choose My Plate we had on the last slide, and you can also look at this for some guidance. If you're having just some easy training, just a little skill development, that might be our easy training day. And so on that day you can see it looks like the plate we had on the last slide, where half of it is vegetables. Maybe some fruit too. But when we get down here on moderate training, you can see that now we're not as much much veggie, we're creeping in more grains there because those grains are carb. There's some good substantial carb. And then you can see that when we're on a really hard day or race day, now the veggies are even less. I mean, veggies are good, but there's your master fuel. Those sweet potatoes, the pasta, the rice. You want to do whole grain pasta, whole grain rice, wild rice, quinoa, to keep it even healthier, fine. But this is where we're getting into showing that carbs to a human like gasoline is to a car. Last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of all these little areas with sports nutrition is supplements. And so this is a really cool slide. It's from Drug Free Sport. I'm on several listservs that relate to sports nutrition, and this came out in the listserv. And I've shared it with my students at the University of Akron, and I think it's neat to share with you too. And so this is where we said food first. And when I had the protein slide up, I said food first, right? Supplements like shakes and powders, sometimes those are like convenient, quick, and easy, but you know what? So is a glass of chocolate milk. And that's not a supplement. That has a nutrition facts label. We know what's in that chocolate milk, or we know what's in that soy chocolate milk. When it's a supplement facts panel on the product, we don't really know what's in there because what the supplement manufacturer says is in there. We hope they're saying the right thing, but they don't have to. So with this example on the slide, we've got a 4-ounce piece of grilled chicken, which is going to give you about 28 grams of protein. Now, when we look at that piece of chicken, we've got branched chain amino acids, and those are the amino acids that might be mobilized for fuel. So we've got those listed here, 1,698 milligrams of isoleucine, 2,864 of leucine, and 1,792 of valine. So that 4-ounce piece of chicken, which isn't like a lot, like it looks about like a deck of cards, is giving me 28 grams of protein and all kinds of great essential amino acids, including my branched chain amino acids. But if I go over to the supplement store and I buy this supplement for however much it costs, I'm not going to get any protein. It's less than 2 grams of protein. It's marketing all these amino acids, but it only has 194 of isoleucine versus 1698. It only has 347 of leucine versus 2,864 in the food. And it only has 189 of valine versus 1792. And in that chicken, I didn't just get protein, I got iron. I got other B vitamins that are important to the human body. So like food is medicine and provides all these other nutrients in it, and the supplement just literally has what is in it. And it might not even have what's in it, because when the International Olympic Committee tests supplements, they have found supplements to have 0% of the claimed ingredient up to 200% of the claimed ingredient. So it's a different world. Supplements are not regulated. Now, if you see any of these 3 circles on the bottom of a supplement, which you probably wouldn't see on these kinds of supplements over here, but if you saw the United States Pharmacopoeia seal of approval, you might see that on a vitamin, and that means it has integrity. What's in that they say is in a supplement is in it. It's pure, which means it's not contaminated. It will dissolve in the body, and it was manufactured in a safe way. That's what the United States Pharmacopoeia looks for. And so if you have that seal of approval, good to go. You've probably seen commercials of Nature-Made vitamins because they market that they have that seal of approval. If other supplements have the NSF, Certified for Sport, circle on them, I have an app on my phone that I can plug a supplement in there, and if it shows up on that app, then it would probably not be contaminated and cause an athlete to test positive for doping. And if you see the green check for informed choice, that also means that the supplement has been investigated. But again, a supplement will not make up for a poor meal plan. A supplement doesn't provide all the fiber and other nutrients that we need. Food has a variety of nutrients, and the body knows just what to do with that food. And a supplement might displace valuable nutrients. If I stick with a supplement, I'm going to miss out on the nutrients from the food I eat. So again, when a lot of times I'll talk about, someone will say, well, I really wanted that protein shake, or I really wanted that protein powder, and I'll bring back, well, if you like chocolate soy milk, or you like chocolate regular milk, could you have that after practice? There's a lot of actual literature, written literature in scientific journals that supports chocolate milk post-workout for adequate recovery and muscle building. Matter of fact, that's one of the things I didn't talk about on the slides were post-workout fuel. And post-workout fuel would be carb to protein ratio of 3 or 4 to 1. So 3 or 4 grams of carb to 1 gram of protein. So carb is still the master fuel post-workout. And that might again just look like a sandwich with some fruit and milk. That could be a nice post-workout meal to give us the carb, to build up our gas tank of carb, and to give us our protein to repair the muscles. Post-workout, you probably don't need more than 20 to 25 grams of protein in young ages. You eat 50, 60, you're not doing anything with that. You might store some fat, you might urinate out some extra nitrogen, but when I see students think they need 40, 50, 60 grams of protein post-workout to build a big muscle, it does not work that way. The body cannot use that much protein. It's about 20 to 25 grams post-workout. For somebody my age, it's more like 40, but even then, that would be the maximum. So I hope this has shed light on the all the macronutrients, carb, protein, and fat, and the energy they provide, how they're utilized around sport, what the timing is around sport, how to tuck in practical, portable foods throughout your day so that you're prepared for practice, how to hydrate properly, what nutrients to kind of pay attention to, like calcium and iron, and how to get your nutrients from food and not supplement. So thank you, I appreciate your time.
Well, and sometimes in here, it takes, like, they can set it, just like, hey, we're going to set it to kick on at 5, and it takes a while for it to really, it's quite a large space.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
no problem.